My name is Anushka, and what I'm about to tell you is not just a story. It's something that really happened to me when I was only 10 years old. Every summer, my family and I had a tradition going on a beach vacation with my father's friend's family. Usually, we'd visit Ture, a place famous for its golden beaches and ancient temples. It was always the highlight of our year, but that one summer, everything changed. Normally, we stayed at well-known hotels, but this time, we hadn't booked in advance. Every single hotel room was full. The staff told us, "Tomorrow, a room will open, but tonight, you'll have to manage somewhere else." And that's how we ended up in a small, lesser-known hotel. A hotel that stood in the shadows right next to an old graveyard. We told ourselves, "It's just one night, we'll be fine." The day was beautiful. We played in the sand, laughed in the waves, and returned exhausted. By nightfall, everyone went to sleep early, completely unaware of what was waiting for us in the darkness. It was around 1:00 a.m. when I woke up to a feeling I'll never forget. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt heavy, as if something invisible was crushing me, choking the air out of my lungs. When I tried to move, my body refused to respond. I was paralyzed. Something was holding me down, and I knew instantly this wasn't human. The room was drowned in pitch-black darkness, but in the corner, in the shadows, there was a dark shape, watching. I was only 10 years old, terrified beyond words. With every ounce of strength I had, I screamed for my mother. For what felt like endless minutes, I couldn't breathe properly. My mother rushed to me, lifted me in her arms, shaking me desperately. My father quickly carried me out into the hallway, but the hallway wasn't safe either. It was completely dark, no lights, no staff at the reception desk, just silence, broken only by the faint glow of moonlight seeping through a large glass door. And then, the dogs. Outside, stray dogs barked and yelped, their cries echoing through the night, as if they too could sense something unnatural lurking nearby. My father laid me down on an empty sofa. He kept patting my cheek, calling my name, until finally I gasped. My lungs filled with air again. I was alive. As I looked down that endless hallway, my blood turned cold, because there it was, a figure standing silently in the corner, watching me. It was tall, its hair floating in the air, as if caught in an invisible breeze. At first glance, it looked like a woman, but deep down, I knew this was no human. Its very presence radiated anger, the kind of rage you can feel in your bones. I froze, unable to blink, unable to breathe. We returned to our room. I stayed silent, not daring to utter a single word. The next morning, we checked out and moved to a well-known hotel. And suddenly, everything felt normal again. The beaches, the temples, the laughter. It was like nothing had ever happened. But when we finally returned home, I told my parents what I had seen. And that's when my heart stopped, because my mother admitted she had seen it too. The same figure, the same corner, that same night. She never told me in that moment. She didn't want to scare me, but she confirmed I wasn't dreaming. I never saw it again. But from that day forward, I was never the same. The fear of the dark stayed with me. I couldn't walk into unlit rooms, couldn't face hotel hallways, especially hotels near cemeteries. Hello, my name is Risa, and what I'm about to tell you is something that has haunted me since I was 11 years old. It was a school holiday. My siblings and I had gone to stay overnight at my aunt's house. The evening was perfect. We laughed, played games, and when it was finally time to sleep, the four of us, my siblings, my cousin, and I spread out on a mattress in the living room. To help you imagine it, the living room lay right in the center, with my cousin's bedroom off to the side. That night, I couldn't fall asleep. My throat was sore, and I couldn't stop coughing. So while everyone else drifted off, I stayed awake, watching YouTube quietly on my cousin's tablet. Hours passed. The room was silent except for my occasional cough. And then, I noticed the time. 3:00 a.m. I finally turned off the tablet, determined to force myself to sleep. But just as I closed my eyes, I heard something. The sound of my cousin's bedroom door slowly creaking open. From where I was lying, I had a clear view of the door. If anyone had stepped out, I would have seen them, but no one did. And the strangest part? The door never closed again. A shiver crept down my spine. I whispered my cousin's name, my voice trembling in the silence. No answer. The air grew heavier. My skin prickled with goosebumps, but I forced myself to stay calm. It's nothing. Just relax. And then my eyes fell on the plastic bag sitting on the table near the door. At first, it was still. And then, the handle began to move. Not a gentle sway, but a deliberate, jerking tug. Startled, I called my cousin's name again. The bag froze. It wasn't the wind. It couldn't be. The bag was full, heavy enough not to move at all, and all the windows were locked tight. My chest tightened with fear. I turned to face my sister, squeezed my eyes shut, and prayed for sleep. But the silence was louder than my heartbeat. I opened my eyes again, and that's when I saw it. Across the room, in the black reflection of the TV screen, a figure, a man, wearing a hoodie, standing right behind me. His body loomed forward, his stance bent as though he was leaning over me, close enough to whisper in my ear. But when I spun around, there was no one there. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The figure in the reflection looked almost like my cousin. But deep inside, I knew the truth. This wasn't him. I turned around to check nothing. The room was empty. But when I looked back at the TV screen, the figure had returned. Only this time, closer. A suffocating wave of dread washed over me. My body froze, my throat locked. I couldn't scream, couldn't move. All I could do was cry silently into my pillow. And then I realized the figure was coming closer, step by step. Desperate, I whispered a prayer, clutching tightly onto my sister. Slowly, the shadow faded, melting into the darkness. I squeezed my eyes shut, begging sleep to take me. But when I finally dared to open them again, he was there, sitting on the sofa, one leg crossed casually over the other, an elbow resting lazily on the armrest, as if he had always been there, as if he belonged there. And just behind him, another figure appeared. Tall, pale, only its upper body visible, hovering in the dark. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I bolted upright, sprinted into my aunt's room, and shook her awake, tears streaming down my face. I told her everything, every detail, but she only looked at me with tired eyes and said she didn't believe a word. My aunt didn't believe me. She just gave me some cough medicine and let me sleep beside her. Only then did my body finally give up, and I drifted into uneasy sleep. The next morning, I told my siblings and my cousin everything I had seen. The moving bag, the shadow in the reflection, the figure sitting on the sofa, staring like I was the intruder in its home. But just like my aunt, none of them believed me either. Even today, I sometimes wonder if the figure in the TV was my imagination. But how do I explain the bag? The heavy, shifting bag, tugging as if pulled by invisible hands. That memory still sends shivers through me. And the thought of that man in the hoodie, sitting so casually on the sofa, watching me like I didn't belong there, still gives me goosebumps. At that time, I lived in an old block of flats in England. Right next to my home stood a giant, abandoned hotel, 6 stories tall, rotting away for years, long before I ever moved in. Its windows were shattered, its walls blackened with decay. Every night, I'd look at it from my window and feel as if it was staring back at me. One day, my cousin, my sister, and I decided we'd finally explore it. The hotel was surrounded by a tall fence, but the wood was broken, full of holes. Slipping through was far too easy, almost as if the place wanted us to come inside. The moment we stepped through, a wave of dread hit us. The inside was worse than we ever imagined. Doors smeared with what looked like blood, windows shattered into jagged teeth, rooms destroyed, filled with trash and the marks of squatters. And the air was heavy, suffocating, like every wall was whispering the same warning, leave. But we didn't leave. Instead, we wandered deeper. Behind the hotel, we stumbled onto a dead patch of grass. Nothing grew there, not a single weed. And in the middle of it stood an old, run-down shed, its door barely hanging on. We didn't even dare get too close to the shed. Just standing near it made our skin crawl. And then, we heard it. A sharp, metallic scrape. Metal against metal. Like someone sharpening a knife. We didn't wait to find out. Terrified, we turned back toward the hotel. But the moment we opened the back door, a foul stench hit us. Rot. Decay. The unmistakable smell of something long dead. But still, for some reason we pressed on. We climbed the crumbling stairs to the first floor and made the worst mistake of the day. We split up. My cousin went one way, my sister another, and I crept into a room littered with old shelves, broken furniture, and books scattered across the floor. In the corner stood a massive, worn-down closet. At first, it seemed ordinary, until I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. A faint but steady sound like long nails drumming against wood. The sound was coming from inside the closet. My heart froze. My entire body screamed at me to run. And I did. I bolted out of the room, sprinting down the hallway, through the stairwell. My cousin and sister saw my face and didn't even need to ask. They ran too. In the rush, my foot caught the edge of a broken tile. I tripped hard, skin tearing open across my leg. But I didn't dare stop, not even for a second. We were seconds from the exit. The broken doors were right in front of us. Freedom. But I made one mistake. I looked back, and that's when I saw her. A woman. Mid-20s, maybe. Long, greasy black hair. Clothes torn and filthy, hanging off her body like rags. She was standing just inside the doorway of the hotel, watching us. Her face hidden in the shadows, her body half peeking from behind the wall, like she had been there the whole time. That's when I knew we were never alone in that place. When we finally got home, I thought the nightmare was over. But as I cleaned the wound on my leg, I froze. The cut wasn't random. It wasn't just from the fall. It had carved itself into the shape of a smiley face. I never believed in ghosts before that day. But after what I saw in that hotel, and after realizing something might have followed me home, I knew better. The building was torn down years later, replaced with shiny new apartments. But for me, that night never left. Even today, I can still feel her eyes in the dark, peeking from the shadows.